Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Talk Bari To Me, where we hold real conversations about transformations, triumph, and everything in between. Today's guest is someone's story who will move you. The challenges he experienced inspire. He took a time to reclaim his life. I'm honored to be joined today by Bill Streetman, an author of Simple, Not Easy: Escaping the Prison of Obesity. Bill lost 240 pounds through gastric bypass surgery, and more importantly, he kept it off over 14 years. He's an advocate for endurance cyclists. He's a board member of the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America and the founder of Tour of Hope. His life is proof that lasting change is possible. So I want to take the time to just welcome Bill. Welcome, Bill. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I am awesome today. It's a beautiful day, and even if it wasn't, you can make it that way if you want to.
Ooh, I love that. That is definitely absolutely 100% true. So, Bill, can you take us back to life before weight loss surgery? What was your life like at your heaviest, mentally, physically, and emotionally?
Yeah, the heaviest I ever was on my own scale was 404 pounds. Now, my doctor's scale, doctor's scales are always heavier than, I think he recorded it at 411. But I use 404 because that's the scale I'm using to weigh myself daily now. Yeah, at home. I think that because it took me most of 25 years or so to gain all that weight, it wasn't like one day I just woke up and said, oh my goodness, I'm overweight. I was fighting it over time and losing the battle over time. But for me, because as a child I wasn't overweight, as a teenager I wasn't overweight. In fact, I was very active. I played every sport. I studied dance and gymnastics. So at age 20, I was in awesome shape, really. And then as my lifestyle changed and I became sedentary and got into my work career, which involved travel, 200 days a year on an airplane, things like that, my weight slowly crept up because I had been used to being a athlete or athletic oriented. My mindset was always on, I've gained a few pounds. I've got to do a quick fix. Go on a starvation diet for a week, or a rubber suit and run in the gym, drop 20 pounds and all is good again. Except that, the first time I dropped the 20, then I gained 25 back. Then I dropped 20 and I gained 25 back. And so slowly it crept up because the quick fix wasn't the answer for the fact that I had changed my lifestyle from one that was very active to one that now was sitting on airplanes and eating in hotel restaurants and things like that. And so that whole idea of the quick fix wasn't the answer, wasn't the solution. And obviously it's not the solution for anything, but if you are maintaining a very healthy or very active lifestyle, it can get you by. So I became very frustrated at the fact that what I'd been used to in my teens and 20s just wasn't working, and kept buying bigger and bigger suits, bigger and bigger clothing. And slowly then the little embarrassments of, I can't fit in a restaurant booth, has to be a table, which is a problem when you are out on business lunches and dinners every day.
Right.
And the airplane, it needs the extension. That was one of the more embarrassing times of my life, having to ask for that.
Same.
And so, it became this cycle of being mad or disgusted at myself, causing me to become even more depressed. And then if I had a moment of, well, I'm going to do something about this because it really didn't work, then I would, I'd have a moment of hope, only for it to be dashed by the reality of quick fix isn't going to do it for you. And then I became depressed, and it was a downward cycle. The real question then, I guess, is what woke you up to this? What made you say, whoa, this quick fix isn't going to work?
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to people who have other addictions or bad habits. I mean, alcoholics, gamblers, people who hit a rock bottom moment or an aha moment, one or the other or both.
Yeah.
I had an aha moment one time about a year before I had surgery, actually a year and a half before I had surgery. I was out in California with my wife visiting her sister. we were in Santa Monica Pier, and there's a photograph that my wife took of this little 2-year-old girl come walking up to me, and we touched fingers, and my wife took the picture right then. So here was this 400-pound guy bending over, touching fingers with this little tiny 2-year-old girl.
Oh,
And I just looked, it looked like Godzilla meets, the 2-year-old girl, just the size of him. And that was one that just for whatever reason, there was other photos of me that somehow I was able to not see the
kind of
part I didn't want to see.
right, right.
But
Now,
that one just hit me.
this is at 53 now, right? Because you had surgery at 54, am I right?
Correct.
Why so long? Was it just, I know that everyone kind of decides at a different point, but 54, I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh, I'm in my 50s, I'm too old to do this. What was the like moment for you where you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this gastric bypass surgery. I don't care. I'm 54. What was going through your mind?
I think I have to thank my sister for turning me on to the idea of bariatric surgery.
Okay.
About maybe even a little bit before the 3-year-old experience I mentioned, she had sent me a letter just saying, Bill, I'm concerned about your health, and have you ever considered bariatric surgery? I have a friend who's going through it. It was kind of, I think at the time I was becoming aware of the fact that my quick fix solutions weren't going to work. I had tried P90X, the watermelon diet, the cabbage soup
All
diet,
of
all these,
all the fads.
and all the fads, exactly. And I either didn't stick with them or they weren't real anyway, or they weren't. And I think I was open to something radical, something more than the common answer of just diet and exercise. Although, as I will always say, it's the diet and the exercise that have gotten me where I am with the support
Absolutely.
and aid of gastric bypass. So it took a while. That was January of 2009 when that photograph was taken. And probably a couple months before that when my sister had sent me the information. So once I got back home, I started looking at options. And I was living up in Michigan at the time. I'm mainly from Columbus, Ohio, but I'd started a business up there. And so I had an apartment up there. My wife and I were living up there for about a year and a half. And I went to a hospital in Central Michigan because they had a information session about bariatric surgery. But it ended up, it was really about how to get bariatric surgery if you have insurance. I was self-employed. I didn't have insurance. I was fortunate enough that the business that's providing me enough that I could pay for the bariatric surgery. I was willing to do that because having looked into it, I thought, my problem is I've always kind of resisted the thought that I was addicted to food. For me, it wasn't so much an addiction as it was I didn't have an off switch. I was a consumption junkie.
Mm.
I was fortunate that I never really got into drinking because I probably could have developed alcoholism. I never really got into gambling because I have an addictive, but I didn't think of food as what I was addicted to as much as consumption or just, I always wanted more of everything.
Was it more like a coping mechanism for you, Bill, or do you think it was just like boredom? Because I know for me, when I'm an emotional eater, when I'm going through something, sometimes I just eat. I may not necessarily be hungry, but for you, was it emotional? Was it just like boredom? Did you ever like identify where that need to fulfill yourself with food came from?
I think that it is an intrinsic part of my personality. My friend Glenn, back when I was in 9th grade, he nicknamed me the mostest or the leastest because I would one summer, I'm a numbers geek too, so one summer in 9th grade, I think I tracked every hour I slept. And during the summer break, I slept 13 and a half hours every day on average. The next year, I averaged about 3.5. So I've always been this all or nothing
The
person.
extremes, either one end or the other.
Yeah, right. And while it's not like I base jump or, I'm crazy that way, when I did take up bicycle riding, I took up 10-day rides, over the mountains and things versus just a ride around the park. So yeah, I tend to do that. I don't think of myself as a thrill junkie or anything like that, and I think it's just my personality is if I do something, I want to be known for doing it the most, doing it the best, doing it the craziest, doing it the way fewer people do it or something. Or like, nope, I don't do that at all. That's just kind of me. And in the book, I describe this, again, being a numbers junkie, or a kind of an analysis junkie. I thought, well, there's 5 reasons you might have a problem bringing in too many calories. You eat too much, you eat the wrong things, you eat at the wrong time, you eat at the wrong reasons, or for the wrong reasons. Those kind of things that I analyzed that. Part of my getting ready for bariatric surgery, investigating it, I took a class in nutrition at a local hospital. So I knew how many calories were in a gram of carbohydrates, protein, fat. I knew what a proper diet could be. And I looked at it, I thought, well, I know what to eat. I do eat at the wrong times a lot of time because I'm traveling, but that didn't seem like the major. It wasn't maybe wrong for the common person, but because I traveled from midnight to 2 a.m. or something, and my day was just shifted, kind of like
Right.
here in Korea. So I thought, well, it's not so much wrong. It came down to I eat too much. It's just I don't have an off switch. And
Mhm.
that made the solution of bariatric surgery, which is something that will restrict my ability to take in a lot, appropriate for that need.
Right.
If I would have decided that I was addicted to food and I was doing some kind of transfer addiction, say, I would go and seek counseling. If
Right.
I was not knowing what to eat, I would go get education. But I had the education. I didn't feel addicted per se, because again, if I wanted to be the leastest guy at the moment, I could go without eating for 4 days.
Mm.
I had that ability to manage myself. I just didn't. And it was no off switch for the most part from eating. So that pointed me to bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
After the
What was your
disappointment at the hospital in Michigan,
Yeah, what was your
I went
mindset going
back to
into
it.
the surgery? Because I know you had the information, but we can have all the information in the world. I know me, like I get obsessive about things like when I'm getting ready to do something new and I'm like digging into all the information. So I'm kind of like you in that way where I'm extreme on both ends. Like I'm either like completely not interested or I'm like completely committed to the cause. And that's what was your mindset, even with all the information going into it? Were you nervous at all? Were you feeling empowered? Like, how were you? Do you remember? I know it's been a while.
Yeah. I remember when I went to a second hospital, the one I had the surgery at, and met the surgeon that ultimately chose me as the patient. I remember he kept wanting to talk about the procedure and the medical part of it. And my feedback to him was 250,000 people here have this surgery, 20 years now. I have full faith in the medical functioning, the technology and that, and in your training to be able to do it. I don't have a lot of questions about how it's done. I have a lot of questions about how I live after it's done.
Good
And
point.
he couldn't answer those because he hadn't had bariatric surgery. I mean, he was a surgeon, but still.
That's interesting.
So what I did was, I don't know where this came from, but I strongly recommend it to anybody. I found a 2-year, a 5-year, and a 10-year post-op and made them my spirit guide. I mean, I didn't even give them a choice. I just said, by the way, I'm calling you every week to talk to you. And I did that before I had surgery. Now, I had surgery pretty quick after my initial consultation. About 3 months, I guess, went by between that
That's
when
pretty
I
quick.
had surgery. But in those 3 months, I talked to those 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year post-ops half a dozen times each. And from each one of them, I received tips. And basically, I was pre-armed or forewarned, was pre-armed for what I was going to be facing. And that was the best part at helping me through the mindset issues,
Yeah,
which I would tell anybody, the whole trip is a mindset. The whole
it
thing is,
is. It is. You know what's so interesting? Because you had surgery quite a while ago. I'm a revision patient. My first surgery was a lap band, and that was in 2011, and then I had revision in 2024. How was it community wise? Because I'm realizing we have a different, even for myself, from 2011 to now, it's a huge difference. There wasn't a lot of support back in 2011. I know you said you had your main people, but were there any like to your knowledge, any support groups or anything that you could potentially tap into?
well, because I had surgery in Michigan, but I lived in Ohio. And about 8 months after surgery, we moved back to our home in Ohio because the business was up and running and that kind of thing. I didn't have a support group to go to as far as, hospital-based or at my surgeon's office. I would tell you also that just, again, my personality and my personality only. I like to talk one-on-one to people, but I'm not big on group conversation. I mean, I've been a teacher a lot of my life. I love to do presentations, speeches, I guess lecture at college. But you're the person at the front, and you're the one doing the talking, and I'm not afraid of groups. It's just that again, I don't do the sit around in circle and talk things so well. And if you do, I highly recommend it. You got to find what works for you. So I knew myself, I was kind of a pinpoint to point person, even though there was not the whole bariatric community. But I found 2 or 3 people, a woman in Cincinnati, a woman in Boston, a woman in California. And it goes back to, my light just turned on. It goes back to the, just being able to find them online. And then we communicated. I didn't need to talk every day, once a week, maybe once a month to some of them. And we would just check in with each other. And that was exactly what I needed and wanted. But again, by having a 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year post-op, I had people that were telling me, Bill, I know you think or feel this now, but you got to be prepared for something coming that you don't even see coming yet. And then, of course, I was prepared for it.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what I kind of like about that approach, because sometimes some of the groups, if you're all at the same stage, you're all saying the same thing to each other. And
Yeah.
there is benefit in experiencing things with a group that are going through the same unique issues. But
Absolutely.
it's hard to get insights post that issue. So by
Yeah.
having, by having that available to me, it kind of, when I was walking up and seeing the first time that I got to the point where I now could eat a sizable volume, it wasn't a surprise to me. Okay, now I know what I'm up against. I know what to do here.
Yeah.
I traveled for a living, so a lot of things I couldn't food prep. I couldn't do some things that other people could do. But my 10-year post-op was also a traveling business executive. So he was able to tell me, hey, Bill, when you go to Pittsburgh or Des Moines or Sacramento, do you stay in the same hotel? Yeah, I do. It's right next to my client. Oh, get to know the chef or the waiter, or, however it's set up there, and tell him your
Yeah.
story. So that when you're flying in, you can call him up and say, hey, I'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then he knows or she knows Bill eats this and this, not that or that. And that's food prep my way.
Yeah.
If you're all in the same lifestyle and same mindset, I would have been saying, I can't make food for a week and take it with me. I can't. So I would have thought, what's that for me? And I would have I would have missed the benefit that comes from that, which is not having to make quick, rash, unprepared decisions like, hey, Bill, we're going to eat. What do you want to eat? I don't know. Give me a Big Mac.
Right.
I didn't have that because, I'm in a different city, but I'm not even worried. I'm just going down at the Radisson down there. Chef Tom's going to make me my broccoli and, slice up hamburger thing. And then I'm good. I got my protein. So that's the tip. One of the tips that I would give to people is not just find that 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year post-op, but quiz them about what they went through even after the stage that you're currently in. So I
love
started
that.
that before surgery, in fact. One of my spirit guides, Gene, he told me, he goes, Bill, when you're 2 months before surgery, when you go into Wendy's, because you're going to realize you don't have to buy this hamburger, you can get the chili. And then practice eating it one bite at a time, but the whole process. And I'm thinking, well, I have an answer to why. So that it's muscle memory. When the time comes that you have to, and it's beneficial to behave that way. So I remember sitting down at Wendy's. Actually, it was right next door to the hospital where I had the surgery, but just by chance because I was there on business, and walked in and was thinking to myself, I'm a post-op. I wasn't. I was still 2 months away, but I'm a post-op. I got this little size chili and, took my bite and put my spoon down, sat back. I'm a post-op now. In my mind, I just absorbed what that would mean. In a lot of ways, what I imagined was nowhere near accurate. But that's not important. The important part that was totally accurate was that it all comes from here first. And that's where
Yeah.
I kind of coined the term for myself of design and election. Design how
Yeah.
you're going to behave, move your body and eat, and then elect to follow that plan. So
I think a lot of people assume
again,
it's
that
just
all,
physical. I think a lot of people assume it's just a physical journey. You talk a lot about how the mental transformation has to happen as well. What do you think is the biggest shift that had happened with your thinking post-op? Do you feel like anything changed mentally, or did you have to program your mindset in a different way post-op?
yeah, I think in a lot of things, when you hear my voice is funny right now. Sound kind of hoarse. I've had a tumor removed from my neck,
Oh,
and it
wow.
paralyzed my vocal cords. Technically, I cannot talk. I only have a voice back because I've had 6 follow-up surgeries to allow that to happen. But this is my voice. I can't go any louder. I can't do high pitch, low pitch. I can't do an English accent. I can't do anything. This is my voice.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are things that are just thrust on you, and if I wanted to, I could feel like a victim. I'm a victim of this tumor that happened and of the surgery that severed some nerves in my vagus nerves that paralyzed my throat. A lot of obese people carry around, I mean, I certainly did, the feeling that this isn't fair, or I'm a victim of bad genes or of a slow metabolism or whatever. And what that does is de-empower me as an individual, because now it's not, and I'm not trying to victim blame anybody here.
No,
If
no,
I'm
no.
trying to victim blame anybody, it'd be myself. But it's not to point out the victim part. It's to empower the overcoming part. The part that says, I don't have to play to any narrative whatsoever. I don't have to be driven by any of that, that I'm in charge of my future. I'm in charge of my actions. I'm in charge of the results I get, because they're the result of my actions, and my actions are driven by my values. This I got when I took a human behavioral study class. And I got to think about that and said, okay, regardless of the reason that maybe I have a propensity to hold weight. Maybe I have a slow metabolism. They say 3,500 calories um, deficit, you lose a pound. I mean, my body said, heck with that. I went 4,000 before I'm giving up a pound. Okay, that sucks. But it's also reality. You can't fight reality, but you can overcome it if
Mm.
you outthink it. So for me, that was the thing, is just, I'm going to self-actuate this. I'm going to be, if I succeed or fail, and I don't even like those terms, if I can manifest the outcome I want, or if I am not able to manifest it, it's all going to be because of what I put into it. And that takes away I sometimes say I never have a bad day. I have days that do better than others, but that's a mental thing. Because a bad day
Absolutely.
could come from being a bad person, or having a bad plan, or being bad at delivering your plan. No, I have great days. I have good days. And then I have bad days,
We
and
all got those days.
that's, and so to me, it's all about, when people ask me how I lost weight, and I know that's a question a lot of bariatric people don't like to be asked, because often they answer by saying I had bariatric surgery. And then they're worried about the dreaded, you took the easy way out, or, oh, I thought you did it on your own thing. My advice is, I'm not denying I had bariatric surgery, not at all. I'm happy to, I'm excited to talk about it. But it's not the reason I lost weight. We all know people that have bariatric surgery and have not lost much weight or any weight. I know many that have gained weight. I lost weight because I live a lifestyle that produces a 170-pound body, rather than a lifestyle that produces a 404-pound body. It's the way I live causes this. Now, when I lived without the aid of gastric bypass, I delivered this because I lived this. When I had the aid of gastric bypass, I was able to live the lifestyle that delivered this body. So how did you lose weight, Bill? I had a problem with overeating. I just ate too much. I couldn't have enough switch. So for me, I had to find a way to manage the food intake. I've always liked to
Mm.
exercise, but as I got big, I couldn't do it as well. So for me, I had bariatric surgery, which never one day got me up and took me to the gym, but it did help me regulate how much I ate, so that then I could manage my calories, create a calorie deficit, lose the weight, and then maintain the weight. So that's how I answer the question. And that's why
Yeah.
I think the mentality of it is, if you think bariatric surgery is going to lose weight for you, then if you don't lose weight, it's the surgery's fault. And again,
Mm.
I'm not trying to victim blame or fault blame anybody, but if I hadn't changed my lifestyle, I would not have achieved a result that I wanted, because the values, and that's sometimes a bad word, because people think values are like, I'm a hateful person or a heavenly person, or I'm a,
No,
I
I get
mean
what you mean. Yeah.
situational value,
Right.
not God and devil values, but situational. Like,
Yeah.
as a board member of the WLSFA, when I'm at events, or even if I'm at Barry Nation, or any event I'm at, I don't drink alcohol. I do in my real life. I mean, I'm not, I had a glass of wine last night, in fact. But because that is a problem for a lot of bariatric people, it's a lot of people who have had the addiction and, transfer addiction things. Alcohol is empty calories, all that. It's my advice would be, don't drink. But in
Right.
reality, I went to a glass of wine with my wife last night when we were up on our rooftop patio, and I had one. But I don't do it at conferences. I don't do it because I have a value that says, when you're in your community, you will reflect the highest level value you can assume at that moment, whatever it is. I mean, I'll eat French fries, but not in a certain, because I believe that it's important to set examples, or to be supportive of, because not everybody's me. Somebody else does have that issue. It does have that is their
Right.
thing. And if they see me doing it, they think, well, I can do it too. We're
Right.
two different people.
Right.
So those kind of values and I mean, in the book I tell, about dishonesty, going to a wedding reception and just going through that food line 5 times, but doing it from a different direction each time. Why? Because I don't want
Yeah.
people seeing me go through there. They don't care. I was lying to myself. So a value for me is, I will be honest with myself at whatever the cost.
Ooh,
Those kind of
that's a
values
hard-hitting
are
one,
part.
Bill. I will be honest with myself. I think that that is a make or break situation for a lot of us, myself included. Sometimes when you are in a bigger body, you try to excuse a lot of, your lack of activities, your lack of, taking the initiative to maybe eat the right things. And to your point earlier, I know you said bariatric surgery is a tool. I do wanna give you your props, because I was looking. I know you said, the gym wasn't your thing, but I saw somewhere that you did 500 plus miles bike riding. Is that true? My
Yeah.
goodness, Bill. Talk about mind over matter. Like, how did we get here? First of all, tour of hope. Can we talk about that for a second?
That particular ride was the Tour Hope 115. I applied to be a speaker at the Obesity Up conference, and I got selected. And so they were having a phone call for the speakers, and everybody was introducing themselves. This was Dr. So-and-so, this was this so-and-so, and all that. And I didn't have any initials or credentials behind my name. I was 5 years post-op and had lost a lot of weight. And the the proposal I wrote up, I guess, just attracted their attention. They said, we want a patient to talk. So I got selected. But I felt like, I'm not standing out in this crowd, And
No.
again, my own ego is, I love to feed my ego. So I'm on the phone going, man. And I had just gotten into bike riding some. And they said, well, Bill, tell us about yourself. And I said, well, I'm going to ride my bicycle from my home in Columbus down to Raleigh, North Carolina for the conference. And I no sooner got out of my mouth, I'm like, why did I say that? Hopefully they didn't hear me. And they was like, oh, that's great. We'll promote it. That's wonderful. That's awesome. Darn, they heard me.
They caught it.
Now you have to do it. But again, that kind of fits my personality, mostest or leastest. Okay, now I have to ride my bike. I quickly looked at the map and saw 2 things. One, it's 525 miles. And 2, there's the Appalachian Mountains in between.
My goodness,
So
Bill. You subscribed for one heck of a challenge.
I had a couple of months to train for it. But I'll tell you, the, one of the moments that most solidified for me fact that the whole journey is the physical part is the minimal part. The mental and the spiritual part of it is paramount. And it'd take me a minute to tell the story, but on the third day of the ride, on the third day, I ended my ride at the base of a mountain. And my wife was following in a car, and she picked me up, put the bike on the thing. We went to a motel. Next day, I came back to the same spot to start again. It was a rainy, foggy day. The fog was all the way down to the ground. So I started pedaling my bike up, not even being able to see the road I was on, basically. It was misty, raining, cold. I was miserable. I was cursing myself out. I was mad. This is stupid. Why did I do this? I'm going uphill forever. I don't know. Well, the Appalachians are really more like rolling mountains. And this ride was like this. So on this particular ascent, I got above, after about an hour and a half, the clouds actually were below me. And I could see the top of where I was going. It was sunny and bright, beautiful day. And I got crested up at the top, and it's almost too mythical to be real, but literally it was kind of like peak and then back down. I rode
Wow.
my bike up there. This is a little county road, right? It's just a little, no traffic, nothing. Nobody lives up there. I got up there and I could see mountain peaks in the distance coming up with the clouds down inside their valleys.
Wow.
The sun was shining bright, nothing to hinder it. Big yellow ball. It was, I'm tearing up right now because it was something. I literally fell to my knees and cried because it occurred to me that only God gets to see this. And I just got the chance to see it. And
Beautiful.
I reflected in the fact that just an hour and a half ago, I would have done anything. I was cursing out the fact there was no road around this mountain, that I couldn't just take a day off and wait for the clouds to lift. All that. I got to the top and I was rewarded with this view, with this experience, with this spiritual event. And it occurred to me that kind of spirituality is involved in anything we undertake. This takes effort. It requires us to call on ourselves, our body and our mind to do it. The spirit's going to be rewarded. In fact, if I would have engaged it first, because now when I see a mountain, I don't go down. I have to ride up the mountain. I go, wow, I wonder what's waiting for me up there. I get a
Right.
whole different mindset because my spirit's going, come on, Bill, let's go, let's go. Well, I had that experience, rode the rest of the way, got to Raleigh, was at the conference. Between sessions, or actually during a session, I was out where one of the vendors was, selling vitamins or whatever. We got to talking, and she said, oh, I know you, you're the bike rider. And so I told her this story because I thought, well, this is so inspirational, it's going to be. And I told her how, I got up there and then look, it was like this, it was awesome. She starts crying, I'm crying. I think she's crying for my story. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. She goes, no, you don't get it, Bill. 2 years ago, I was in an abusive relationship. I couldn't take it anymore. I got in my car with my child and drove away. We lived in the car for a week, just in
Oh
the
my
car.
goodness.
And she said, I prayed to die so my son would have a better life because I wouldn't be able to give it to him.
Oh
So
my
I prayed to
goodness.
die. I got sick and got taken to the hospital, found out I had cancer. So she went to treatment and was in, what do you call it when they give you the IV,
The chemotherapy.
and I'm sitting there and just going, why am I doing this? I should have died. I prayed to die. I could have died. Why are they doing this to me? And I'm sitting next to another woman and we got started talking. We became friends. And in that relationship, I found my will to live, that she became a friend of mine and gave me advice and thoughts. And so she goes, I'm grateful that I had cancer because it gave me this new lease on life. And now I'm bawling my eyes out thinking, damn, woman, I thought that I was inspired because I rode my bike up a darn hill. You had cancer, was celebrating it, and then realized, no, that's wrong. I want to live and overcame it. And you're grateful for what happened to you. And I got to tell you, when I went through this throat thing, well, because I couldn't talk for 6 months at all, her story kept going through I kept calling on that as I may never talk again. I may never be able to speak again. And by the way, my initials are BS. I love to talk. I was born talking. I think I came out of the womb, hi, doc, hi, nurses. How we doing
Same.
today? I was born. So when I couldn't talk, you might as well have just, chop my leg off. But that mentality, it just taught me that we're three things. We're a mind, we're a body, and we're a spirit. And the best we are is the weakest of those three things. So if you have a strong mind and a strong body, great. But if you have a weak spirit, you're diminished. If you have a great spirit and a great mind, but a weak body, you're diminished. Complete the triangle. So
Yeah.
my advice to people on going into bariatric surgery is find each of those things, nourish each of them. And then when you're nourishing the spirit, it's much easier to overlook ignorant comments from people or the things you have to give up because you don't view it as giving up. You view it as trading for something else I want, that type of things. In
Yeah.
that bike ride, I discovered kind of like super secrets that helped me, and through not only the rest of my 10 years since then, bariatric journey, the throat issue, and other things. I'm even selling my home at 35 years and moving to Korea. That was difficult.
Yeah.
That required giving up a lot of things that I was comfortable with and I knew well. But
Yeah.
I'm here, and my spirit has never been happy, more fulfilled
I
than when
love
I sit here
that.
and stare at the Korean countryside.
You know what's interesting about what you were mentioning, and because I could relate to this, it seems like almost as if when you begin to embrace the difficult times, when you begin to embrace the moments that are outside of our control and really just handling it with grace and tapping into your spirituality, tapping into that self reflection, that's when the most growth happens and you get to experience some of the most beautiful things. Because speaking to that story of the woman, that is devastating, but she found out she wanted to live in the midst of facing death. For you, you thought, I took on this challenge of doing this bike ride, and you got to experience something that not a lot of people are going to experience. It wasn't easy, right? No part of that ride was easy, but I want you guys who are listening to just really hear that part and replay it if you need to, because in the midst of your most difficult hours is when the transformation begins. It's when you get to appreciate life. It's when you get to appreciate just the simple things that mean the most, right? A beautiful sky, a beautiful sun, life, right? We all woke up this morning. That really does set the tone for my day. Is there anything that you incorporate in your day to day that helps you just kind of stay grounded?
One of the reasons to move to Korea is because my only grandchildren are here. I have two grandsons, and one is 5 and one is going to be 2 soon. But till recently, I didn't consider myself a grandfather because
Mm,
by definition I was. There's that third generation, my son, and then the next generation. But I didn't have a relationship with them. I didn't, I wasn't doing grandfatherly things. So now, at least being here, my son lives about a mile and a half. I can almost see it over the horizon. Every morning I get up and walk him over there and take TJ to the bus stop or to school. And just holding his hand and watching him develop and that kind of thing. That's what I found recently. I love to garden. So back home, after I had weight loss surgery and once I got back into my house, from back to Ohio, I started community gardening. And it was a place I could go every morning. Again, about a mile and a half from where I lived. I could walk over there, carry my rake and carry my water well or watering can, and walk there, garden for an hour and a half, and walk back. So I got exercise. I definitely had mind time. You're walking, takes an hour and 20 minutes or so. Then my spirit is fulfilled because my little pepper plants, my tomato plants, my beans, my peas, all that stuff, they give you, that's where I felt my spirit going. My grandmother Streetman grew up as basically part of a farm family in Tennessee. She had a green thumb, so I named my garden Annie Mae after her. So I
oh, that's
could
sweet.
commune with my grandmother, who I didn't know all that well when she was alive, and I've always regretted that I didn't know her better. Well,
Mm,
we know each other now because for past 8 years I've gardened with her. So I find things like that to me to be and I couldn't have done all that at 404 pounds. First, I wouldn't walk a mile and a half. Second, I couldn't do
Right.
all the gardening and all that. And so it gave me a chance to use body, mind, and spirit that way. And I didn't walk over there every day, but at least 4 days a week I did. So
Yeah.
it's finding something like that that you can use and just connecting it to the journey, what normally, like you say, people think of physically and even mentally, but I can connect it to I can find a spiritual connection to it. And when I've attached that and that three-part component of my being elevates, or my wife
Mm,
says I vibrate at a higher level
I'd say
when,
that too. Yeah.
because like I like to say, I'm only as strong as the weakest of those three things. So when the weakest thing elevates, all elevate.
It sounds like you have gained so much perspective. It seems like you've gained so much of a deeper connection with yourself and your existence here on earth. What is it that inspired you? Like, where was your heart at when you decided to get into the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America? Because I don't know. A lot of people know within the bariatric community, but some of the people who watch the show may not be bariatric or are just coming into the community. Do you want to tell them a little bit about what the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America is?
Yeah, about 13 years ago, 14 years ago, Antonia Namnath, that last name is convoluted, Namnath, Antonia or Tony, had a friend who needed weight loss surgery but didn't have the money for it and didn't have insurance. So she put a little fundraiser together to raise the money. And seeing that that worked and her friend got weight loss surgery, she decided to incorporate it as a 501c3 nonprofit and set out to raise money so every year they could issue a surgery grant or two, develop the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America name, and started having conferences, annual conference where the proceeds of the conference would, instead of being a for-profit entity running a conference, the monies went to issue a surgery grant. And she got a team together to put the process together in place, the process of accepting applications, analyzing the applications, verifying you don't have insurance, you don't have the financial means, you have been referred by a bariatric surgeon, extracting the commitments that you'll help raise 10% of whatever your grant was after the fact that will contribute to another surgery, these kind of things. So put together this process. And then for 13 years, had the conference, raised the money, and issued, I guess, 35 surgery grants to date.
35
Now,
surgeries. Wow. 35 lives have been changed. That's massive. That's massive.
yeah,
I,
and
I
she
wasn't aware it was
termed
that
it,
many.
so then she coined the phrase saving lives one surgery at a time. The problem is that we faced is back then there were no other conferences, and now there's dozens. The conference, there's so much competition, and that's the only source of funding for the surgeries. And so when we used to have 500 people at a conference, we'd raise $20,000 after expenses and not be able to issue a couple of surgery grants. Now, sometimes we get 150 attendees because people are going to the various different conferences. They all cost money. They all require vacation time, so it's much harder. So I've been lately been putting prospectus together and sending them out to corporations and different entities. I mean, I'll send them to any rich person I know or know of, saying, hey, anybody want to either put an endowment together where we can live off the earnings to issue surgery grants, or, but for advertising purposes, donate $10,000 or $20,000 a year so we can issue one or two. The foundation really gets no, our real product is the process.
Right.
We know how to take in the apps, analyze the apps, qualify the applicants. We have arranged for discounts from surgeons, from surgery centers. We get the complications insurance, if you will. So if something happens, we have the money for the surgery. But if you need $50,000 worth of follow-up because something happened, well, we have insurance policy for that. That's what
Wow.
we are. So what I really would say to people is, or a company, sometimes I just pick a company name like Campbell Soup. What if this was the Campbell Soup grant? You don't want to take in money. You don't want to analyze applications. You just want the Oprah moment of, hey, look at this. That's my turn too. Look at this person, the before, the after, and the what success. And you want the credit for being part of that, with corporate. I get it, So, and you need to stay arm's length away so that if there's complications or issues, well, we're the arm's length and we're the process. Campbell Soup, why don't you put the money up? So I'm writing up these prospectus and sending them around. I've gone to a couple of different industry trades and whatnot, and different lobby groups and so on. Some have had interest, but just didn't fit their charter, whatever. But the future of the WLSFA is suffering because, if we don't have 500 people turn up for a conference, we can't raise the money to do it on a regular basis. So we're in transition, definitely.
Yeah, I think that, and you make a good point, because I think there are a lot of corporations out there that they get to the end of the year and it's time to start donating. So I know, because I worked in the nonprofit sector for a while. So when it came down to getting funding, we're looking at end of year, seeing what corporations are willing to do some form of charitable, contribution. If there are any organizations, any individuals who are listening to this podcast, please connect, because I think that it's important. There's power in community. The more people get involved, the less the contribution has to be, because now it's a bigger pot, right? So the more people we make aware of the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America, $20 from 1,000 people goes a lot further. Sometimes it's a little easier, right? So I think it's important that you connect. Where are you guys on? Are you guys just on your website? Do you have a social media? Because we do have a lot of folks who tap in via social media.
WLSFA.org, and on Facebook, WLSFA. There's the basic website. The foundation is run by all volunteers. I'm a board member, but I'm not paid. I pay to go to my own conferences. I pay to go to a board meeting. I pay to stay at the motel. And we're all patients. So it's not like I have fellow board members that are the CEO of Lockheed Martin or something, and make nice bucks. I try to hit up all my doctors and all my limited supply of friends that seem to be wealthier than the average person. But we don't have, our expenses are zero. And that's a good thing, because that means all the money goes to surgeries. It's a bad thing because I don't have any money to advertise. I don't have any money. If I'm doing a mailing, I buy the envelopes. I print on my ink, on my printer, and stuff them and put the stamps on and mail them. And I'm lucky. I'm retired. I have the time. I can do that kind of stuff. But other board members aren't. So it is a way. And again, it's not like I have other board members that are on multiple boards and, connected, not a Harvard alumni, that kind of thing. So thank you for I forgot to mention that, because I do hope that one day somebody calls up and says, Bill, two things. One, personally, I got the money, here's something, and my company wants to do this on an annual basis. If you want to remain anonymous, fine. If you want it to be the ABC surgery grant, it'll be the ABC surgery grant, functionally run and administered by the WLSFA. That's all we do. We're not after the press or publicity. We just want to see the cause move on.
Yes. And there's power in community. This bariatric community knows how to show up. So if you are, again, wanting to connect, make sure you check out. They are on Facebook and they have their own website, WLSFA.org. In addition to that, if you are able to contribute time, ideas, I think those things are super valuable as well. If you have contacts, those are important too. A lot of times we may not know someone, but maybe you do. So make sure you tap in with Bill. And Bill also has a book. If you haven't heard about the book, make sure you tap in with Bill as well on that. Can you show them? Simple, not easy. Can you talk about the book, what inspired the book for you, and where they can find it?
It's available on Amazon. Just go there and Google the title or Bill Streetman, and it'll pop up. Paperback, Kindle, and hardcover. I started writing Actually, what started it was after that first bike ride over the Appalachians. I wrote about my bike ride. It was just a cathartic way for me to relive it and keep it so I'd remember it forever. And that piece I wrote is actually in the book too. And that got me starting. I didn't actually journal, but I kind of wrote pieces about. But the second piece I wrote was called "How Did You Lose the Weight?" And basically, it was that what I was talking about earlier about utilizing weight loss surgery, not giving it the credit. And because in that case, I felt that you don't have to answer that question when somebody asks you. Again, I was born talking, so I'm happy to. But you don't want to, you don't have to. But you do have to have an answer for yourself, because that's when people say, "Oh, I hate when people ask me that question." It's because you don't know your answer, because
Oh,
you're giving yourself the answer that it's the solution, and you know that that's not ultimately what's going to get you there. So if you can answer that question for yourself, that's all that matters. Then talk about it if you want to or don't. Anyway, I wrote that piece and a few others, and I began to see how, hey, I like writing about this. I like sharing it, and people seem to like the stories. So my original concept of it was just kind of a collection of essays. I wrote that, and then I put them all together, and many of them, became. I started in 2015, so by 2020, I had 5 years worth of that put together, 21, 22 in there, 5, 6 years of that. I had updated the story, or hey, that's what I thought when I was at 4 or 5 years. Now, and a couple of more years up, here's kind of a epilogue to that, or that kind of thing. I put all that together and I sent it to a couple of people and said, "What do you think about this?" Their feedback was, "Well, the stories are fine, but you need a narrative that ties it together more.
that's good to
Um,
know.
Otherwise, people can just go look at your Facebook posts probably and get most of that." And so it was Vern Vincent, the inventor of the lap band, was one of them, and Connie
Nice.
Stapleton. A lot of people in the community know her. They both gave me this
Yes.
feedback that, "Oh, it's good stuff, but this is what this is what's missing." So I sat down for another year and wrote that. I went to the Atlanta Writers Conference in the fall of 23 and submitted my manuscript, and had a review with a publishing agent, and I won Best Manuscript of Show for the Atlanta Writers Conference. Well, I thought, oh, great, this is easy, and now this guy's going to publish it. But the publishing business is tough. And he said, "Bill, yeah, you have a good book here. I think we'd love to publish it. Probably January of 26. Well, that's 3 years from now. Can't we do it faster, sooner?" And he said, "Well, we've got these things coming and going." So I got discouraged, and I went back. And my son, the son is an IT guy. And I said, "I know I can do it on Amazon myself, but you have to format it. You have to this, that." He said, "Dad, it's simple, but not easy." That's not where I got the title, but he likes to throw that one back at me all the time. So he said, "I'll do the formatting. I'll do the stuff. You just you finish writing it and we'll get it out there." And so we self-published it. The very last thing I put in were the tips that you mentioned and whatnot, because I remember the one thing that publishing agent told me was, "You have a platform. That's great. Most people who write books, they have to search for where their audience is going to be. You have a built-in platform, and you have a built-in story, and you have a built-in narrative now. Maybe some practical tips or just some ways that people can, well, yeah, but how do I apply this to me?" So he
Right.
gave me that, even though he wasn't going to publish me for 4 years. But I took that and went back and quickly added that to it, and then we published it. Because, yeah, I could see right away that exactly those were the things I talk about all the time, the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year post-op spirit guide. Well, I am that now for somebody if I put it in the book and they read it. So that was kind of brought it all together. And then, I got it out the door.
I love that.
I don't get a lot of chance to hold it up and smile next to it, but I am very proud of it. I do, I mean, you publish it and you put price on it and I make money on it, but I'm not, I'll give away every cent that a royalty I get, because first of all, I'm not rich, but I have all I need. I don't So if I sold 5,000 books and got $10 each, yeah, that's $50,000. I'm not throwing that away, but
Right,
it's
right.
not going to change my life. And I don't say that because of any reason or to make anybody who says 50,000 would change my life. Well, good. I hope you get it. I hope you find it. I hope you earn it. I hope it manifests in your life. But for me, it's not going to change my lifestyle. It's not going to, but if people can read the book and find just a, some of the inspiration that I've found in this process, then their life is going to be fulfilled, more fulfilled, better for them. And then, yeah, if I could sell Harry Potter level books, 100,000 books, make $1 million, yep, that would change
Yeah.
my life. But that's not practical. That's not going to happen. I mean,
It
I'll try to
could. You never
manifest
know,
that.
Bill. You never know. It just takes one person to
I'm not
see
going
it.
to talk it out of existence. Yeah, I'm not talking it down. My wife would get mad at me, Bill, you're vibrating too low. But my point is that I've been on some podcasts, some people, I don't even mention the book. And then later, they'll says, Bill, why didn't you tell me you have a book? And then I realized, it's like if somebody said, Bill, we'll promote it and I'll donate, I would be happy to donate my royalties back to, and I donate them to WSFA. I'll donate them to a group of a cause or whatever that helps out because ultimately I do have a self rewarding objective in that. Anybody can write one book and it's a lot of effort. To write a second book, you only do I'd rather do when the publisher comes to me and says, Bill, we want that book. And they're only going to do that if you sell 5,000 copies. So
Mm.
if I could sell 5,000 copies, a publisher would be lining up to print my next book. If I do want a book, earn money enough to change my life, it's not coming from this one. It's coming from my second book. How do you get your second book? Sell your first book. So again, for me, it's not all altruistic. Yeah, I'll give away the money I earned from this book, no problem. But I know that if that helps me sell more books, it'll give me the opportunity to write a second book because people will want to publish it. So, I mean, in all truth and honesty, yeah, there is something in it for me. It's just not money right now.
Yeah,
And,
you know what? I
you
could
don't,
see you
I'm on
already.
the
New York
W.
Times bestseller, Bill. We're gonna put that out in the universe for you. New York Times bestseller, not once, not twice, as many times as you choose to write books. It's absolutely gonna come to fruition. You have such a good heart, and I think you're on the right side of this bariatric history, right? You're trying to do for others while you changed your life. You could have just called it quits and like, oh, I lost the weight. I'm done. But you have chosen to commit your life to not just helping you, but to helping others. So I have a really good feeling that your books are going to do better than you expect. And my hopes is that the right person hears the podcast and they're able to support the cause because you put a lot of your heart, your finances, your time, which is our most valuable commodity, into this. So I think it's going to pay back tenfold. I do feel that in my spirit.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I
Absolutely. Absolutely.
do.
And I do know we're getting down to the hour here, but I always like to ask my guests because sometimes I get people who listen to the podcast who haven't had surgery, they're on the fence, they're maybe a little nervous, a little scared. Do you have any words of wisdom that you could leave them with?
No matter what tool you end up using to assist you, you have to know that when my 10-year spirit guide, when I was down the first week after surgery, I called him up, got his voicemail. I said, Gene, this week one is horrible. I'm in pain. I'm worried I didn't do the right thing. I'm lost. Sorry to bother you, and just I left the message. I hung up. He called back, left me a message. I listened to it. He said, Bill, I heard what you're talking about. I want you to do this. Walk into your bathroom with your phone and listen to this. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, Bill, you're doing this for you and you're worth it. Anytime you feel like you're lost, you don't know what's happening, walk over to that mirror, point at yourself and go, Bill, you're doing this for you and you're worth it. That night, then I went to sleep. I woke up the next day. It was like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. The sun was out, the corn had grown 5 feet. Everything was, and from that day, it was a Thursday when I had that problem. Friday morning, I woke up to this beautiful day. and it subsided. My best friend from Ohio had driven up to Michigan to surprise me, knock on the door. Jeff, he goes, I just got the feeling you needed a visitor. Wow. All that it came together from that day until today. Every day has been better than the day before. So you have to believe in you. You have to realize that never, 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 ever give up. And all you have to do is do a little bit better today than you did yesterday. If you feel
Yes.
like you've had a bad day, or if you feel like you're on the wrong track, or if you feel, just go back to rule number 1 and rule number 2. Never, never, never give up, and do a little bit better today than you did yesterday. Because the reward is in the journey, not the destination. Everybody wants to be, 170 pounds when you were 400. But the rewards, I'm not rewarded sitting here at 170 pounds. I've been rewarded by the journey. Just being here in Korea. I said my son lives a mile that way. There's a mountain between us, 350 foot of elevation gain between us. There's a path that goes around, but there's a path that goes over. I go over. I come back by going over. I get rewarded every day by seeing things up there. Everybody else has to cross a road, wait for the light to change, get run over by a taxi or a delivery guy. I don't. I'm on the mountain. I'm smelling things, seeing things, feeling things. They don't. And so my reward comes from that, not because I'm 170, but because I'm doing these things. You have to stake out your victories. You have to design the life you want and then elect to follow it. And if you do that, they say that you don't have to know the whole path. You just have to know your next step. Get excited about the next step. Get excited about the next step. Before you know it, the journey you're on is going to be mind blowing. So that's my advice. I know it's not a bumper sticker. It's hard to
No,
put that little speech on a
listen.
bumper.
No, I would love that as a bumper sticker, but it'd probably wrap around my my whole car. But no, it's actually a really, really good message. I think step by step, day by day, minute by minute. I know that this journey comes
You
with
have
a
to
lot of
believe in
ups
yourself.
and downs, but that part is
Yeah.
probably the most valuable piece you should leave with. So if you're listening to this and you're having some doubts, you need to tap into why. Why did I even think of this idea? This idea didn't come to anyone else but you. It's for you to bring it to life. A lot of us are in this world for whatever amount of time. We don't know, right? So I don't want to live with regrets, and I don't want you to live with any regrets either. So if something is in your spirit to do and you've thought it out, you've done your due diligence, and all it is a matter of just taking that next step. Bill said it best, one step at a time. Just move on to the next thing and on to the next thing. Don't allow fear to paralyze you. Don't allow self doubt and self limiting beliefs to stop you from the one thing that can change your life forever. We heard it here with Bill. He got more than just a weight loss. He found Bill and he's continuing to discover all the depths and things that Bill is all about. So if you woke up this morning, you still have time to make the rest of your life the best of your life. So I hope this message tonight was empowering for someone, and I hope that someone takes something from it. Again, just another friendly reminder, the book is available on Amazon, also the WLSFA.org. Please support, share with a friend. Make sure you get the book. Bill, thank you so, so, so much for taking a slice of your time to share with me. I really, truly appreciate all your wisdom, and I got a lot from this conversation. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you too, because people ask me all the time, why don't you do a podcast? I go, you know how much work that is? And you do the work, and it's awesome what you do. I just want to turn it around and thank you for what you do to support the community, because it's very valuable, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
look
And you
forward to meeting up.
guys, yes, we have to connect. And you guys, when you see Bill online, make sure you follow him because he has the best pictures and he posts all the best videos. So you'll see him in the Talk Bari To Me community group. Make sure you check him out on there. He has great, great sightseeing photos. So if you want to live vicariously through Bill, make sure you give him a follow. But without further ado, guys, where are my shades? I thought I had my sunglasses here. You know what? I'll just keep these on for now. But people throw shade on what shines, my friends. Oh, wait, hold on. They're right
I
here.
have mine.
Bill's got his. I got to get mine. Hold on. I found some. Here we go. People throw shade on what shines, but when in doubt, my friends, shine brighter. We're going to hang out here for a little bit. Have a wonderful night, everyone. We're going to go ahead and cut.